about his costs in the early part of the relationship, and we assist him through sliding out of his business over a 2-3 year period, and a slightly different structure there. So, once the agent joins as an individual, it's just an exceptional approach where the proposed sponsor brings that agent or that team leader across, and we start opening up these discussions in that regard. And there are people in this room, from James to Steve to everyone, that can facilitate those kind of discussions to make sure that we have the right team structure to fit that team leader when they wish to join us.
How many team leaders in the room? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not super common?
Not yet.
Not yet, yes, not yet. This is a really big opportunity, not only for you to increase your production significantly, but also be a much better attraction agent, a recruiting agent. It gives you an opportunity to talk to agents about how you can help them be better. We're all better together. And so by having them come to your team, if you're a producing agent, a good producing agent, they want to come to your team because they see value in what you're doing because you're a productive agent. So it's never been a challenge for me to have agents. In fact, I turned many agents away from my team because they just weren't a fit. They weren't a fit culturally. They didn't have the right makeup to be successful. They just didn't suit my team structure. So, but it's a really great opportunity to attract agents. So I'll attract agents because they want to be on my team, but they don't come to my team. I then just bring them to eXp.
Stephen.
So just talk through two aspects of the team thing. Talk about the branding side, because generally I would imagine the team leaders building their own brand together with everyone.
Yep.
And then the second one was lead generation. So I know you guys, a big part of the value that you offer is you actually generate leads for the team. So
Yes.
talk through that.
So, there's a couple of different things. So we're seeing really two different types of teams in terms of branding. Like, at least in North America, we see two types. So one is it's under your name, right? Now, other ones are not under your name, they're under a brand, which actually makes it more saleable and can help more people buy in. So if I could go back and do it over again, I'm not sure I would do it under the Jennifer Jones team brand, although it worked out for me because there's an Olympic curler named Jennifer Jones. And I just go up to the door and they're like, "Oh, you're Jen Jones? I know you." And I'm like, "Absolutely, you know me." Yeah, let's do this.
Curling is, right?
Yeah, like the rock. Okay, it's a rock on ice.
Intern or outturn?
Yeah, I don't even know. So we're seeing that brand like under your own signs. And the cool thing is, the reason for the team and the reason that branding works is because you end up with so many more signs, right? So I look at it as like all the agents are like Canadian geese, okay? Now, has anyone ever seen Canadian geese fly, maybe in a picture, or do you know what kind of shape they make?
Yeah.
What kind of shape?
V.
They make a V, right? So the truth is, when you have them spread out like that, they're covering more geographical area, right? So they're covering more geographical area. They're looking for food, for water, for shelter. And if one gets sick or injured, Keith knows the answer to this. What happens if one goes down? My husband, the back. Yeah, one will come down and usually stay with it, one or two. And that's part of the idea of this team. So branding wise, you could do it under your name. And you would do that if you're already set up under your name and you're getting a lot of signage out. So who here is doing quite a few deals and you have a lot of signs out? Put your hand up. Okay, yeah, Brad, a perfect example. And exactly what Brad was saying, he's branding using open house boards, as you call them, right? You've got boards everywhere. Like, how many boards did you put out? 3,500 or something last year? Yeah. So the important thing is you've got that kind of branding, okay? And then as you get more money, then you move to, we do some radio, right? We do a ton of sponsorship within the communities. So it could be, you know, a Christmas party we're holding, or we're donating money to the food bank or to the animal shelter. So you're constantly running things that help build your brand. The other way of doing it, again, is basically a group of you who are decent producers getting together and saying, okay, let's form a partnership or a group. We will now put a name on it because we're going to get more signage, right, out there, and we're going to get more buy-in from other agents that now want to be a part of this bigger group that has a bigger platform, right? Does everyone understand that? Okay. So for us, for lead gen, I know Stephen wanted me to touch on lead gen. So again, like Randy and myself, so I started out my 3rd year of real estate, I made 1.1 million gross commission income. That's back like 7 years ago. So by doing that, my level of service could no longer maintain at that same level that was going to bring in those repeat referral clients, right? So when you're at a point you're maxed out and you can no longer do it really, really well, you have to start bringing in other people. So I automatically, because I was generating so much business and doing so many open houses, like to a point of, I do like 18 over like a weekend, like crazy, even some of them 12 on a day. I would do 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. I would actually have like a caravan of people coming with me. I would give them raffle tickets at each house that they hit, and then at the end we would do refreshments and prizes, right? So this is a great way to actually establish an amazing group of buyers and sellers that will follow you. This is their fun on the weekend. They see other people they know, and then they start to transact with you, right? So that's one way, is creating the business through your sphere, through open houses, all of those. And then what we did is, in order to generate more consistent business for everybody, we actually went to a paid lead service. Okay, so that's actually called Sync in the US, Commissions Inc. Do you have paid lead services here? Somebody
Online
needs.
lead gen?
Okay, now through eXp we also have KV Core, so that's our CRM, and we use Make It Rain, Revenos. There's a couple other things we can use there to generate business as well. But you can do that even through creating and boosting ads through Facebook platforms, right? Paid Instagram, paid, who uses TikTok? Is TikTok a thing here?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can do paid ads even through TikTok and start to generate business through that. So if you're looking to generate more for the team and do more branding within your team, you need to actually get out there and put some money into it. So if you're not ready to do that, the best way is exactly what Brad is saying, open houses. So even if you had other agents that don't want to run open houses on their listings, it's going to them and offering to host. Now, based on the psychology that seems to be here around, like North Americans tend to be much more collaborative as a real estate group, and particularly within eXp. Are you kind of noticing that so far within the messaging this morning? So I think doing exactly what Brad did, you have to break it. Stop thinking in terms of this, like this is the way we do things, this is the way people behave, everybody wants to be a part of something bigger, right? So you've got to find a way to do what Brad is doing and ultimately go to other agents and say, okay, I've got some buyers that I've generated through some paid leads. Why don't we run some open houses through your listing or whoever else is in the hood? Maybe they're even from a different brokerage, because that's amazing to lead generate and attract them ultimately to the company, right? So what's your take?
I think you did a really good job in that. Any other questions?
It's just for us, it's very difficult to have shareholders because in the estates we're not allowed to have human shareholders, like estates, so that they don't allow it.
You understand you have to have like a permit to put a
No, you're not allowed at all.
Yeah, so if it's a gated
So it's
estate,
difficult,
you
yeah.
can't do,
No, you're not allowed.
So could I just add to that?
I was going to say.
I mean, with our technology within eXp, we've got a program called Frame VR. It's exp.world. You could do your own show in that environment. So if you've got the photographs and you've got the listing and you attract people into So I don't just think purely the way that Brad's thinking. I think that's the best way of doing it.
Yes.
But we've got alternatives and other solutions, and I think you must look towards that, because the youngster of today, that first-time home buyer, is willing to come to you within a frame environment and put their money down on a property that they want to buy.
Even if Facebook Live or TikTok Live, but I don't know about the security aspect of that, so I can't comment just because it's a different world. But if you had it set up where it's actually a show house or an open house during the week, but you're there live taking these clients through or potential buyers and answering questions live for them, and maybe it's like a closed group that they register for, and then you have the consent for the seller, right? There's got to be other ways to do it, so I think it's just thinking outside the box and come up with some other solutions.
James, what was your question?
Oh,
Randy, thanks, Jen. So partly answered, but mine's from more of a practical cost perspective. So I'm running a team and I've got expenses.
Yes.
And it's great to have events and promotions and NGOs and donations. How do you take on all those costs yourselves, or do you pass any of that on to your agent team?
Great question. I do partner with, this is really interesting. So my sponsor, Phil Hahn, we do a lot of events together. And Phil and I pool our money together and split it. So every event, we split the cost 50-50. As far as my team, those are all my costs, but I will have my agents pay for some of it depending on what it is. And that is based on the commission split I have with my agents on my team. So if they're on a 50-50 split, they'll pay sometimes 50% of the cost of whatever that is. So we do some cost sharing that way. But yeah, running a team is expensive. And maybe I have another question. There's agents here, there's like 4 or 5 agents that were team leads, but do others of you have assistants or executive assistants that help you? That's really, to me, that's the first step in having a team. Like, leverage everything out of your own self, then have an assistant to like take you to the next level. So I was so afraid of doing that. And an agent came to me, actually the broker owner at the RE/MAX office, I was there 20 years, great guy. But he came to me and said, Randy, you're so good at what you do, but you're killing yourself. Let's get you an assistant. And I said, I can do this on my own. I'm smoking everybody else. They've got people. I don't have people, and I'm selling more homes. So I was so prideful of doing it on my own that I wasn't going to hire an assistant. So I came to the decision, okay, I'll hire somebody, but I want to get 30% of my time back so I can spend it with my 2 kids, my wife, and I wanted to make 30% more income. Well, what happened is I did get my 30% back, my time back, but I doubled my business. This is how good it can be with the right assistant.
yeah.
So I went from like 65 to 75 sales to 125 to 150 sales, and then I was overwhelmed again. I lost all my time, and that's where I hired my first agent, which I called a buyer's agent at the time. And I can still remember it was a Friday night. I was standing over the barbecue, I had guests over, much like we had over Steve's place last night, and I get a call from the first agent I hired, and I go, oh shoot, what's up, And Jonathan, what's up? Oh, I just want to tell you, I just put a deal together. Awesome, like just so amazing. So from there, I just kept hiring, and my team flexed and grew between agents, but my strongest team was with only 4 agents, including myself, doing 450 sales a year.
Guys, we've got time for maybe one last quick question, then we're going to go down.
So, executive Williams, productivity coach, came over to eXp to start my own team, was literally registered yesterday, so now I'm stuck between 2 traditional models in South Africa that we have in respect of teams. So, first one is the typical, what we call an MRA team, where you've got your admin, then you've got your buyer's agent, selling agent, show house agent, etc. And the more traditional one in South Africa is where you've got a bunch of independent agents, but they do lead gen, you don't have a rainmaker, they do media, marketing,
just wung it. I'm overwhelmed. Out of the gate, I was still the listing agent, and I took care of all the listings, and then my agents just handled all the buyers. But when the market got tough in 2009, as you know, 2008, 2009, because up until then the market was just going like this, and you'd show up at a bus stop, and you'd say, we're going to sell some houses today, or buy some houses, and people would just get in. Didn't matter who was the bus driver, right? That's just the way the market was. Then the market changed, and you'd pull up to the bus stop, and they go, nah, we'll wait for the next bus. So I found that my agents were building these relationships with the buyers, because it usually starts with the buyer, and then it was really hard for them to transition that buyer over to me to go and list their property.
Yeah.
So then I said, I have to give this buyer's agent the ability, the skill, and the opportunity to go and list that person, because they built the relationship. We heard it this morning. It's all about relationships.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jake. It's all about relationships. And so I then transitioned to let my agents on my team be buyer's agents and listing agents at the same time.
And we always did from the beginning. Because I needed that leverage out, I would put agents on. I would help them very closely. I would give them 50% of it, even though it was mine. But what I did is just kind of got them to a place where I no longer needed to be there. I would go in and help and get the listing at first. It's now in a place where I don't even need to go in. So I have enough amazing agents on the team that know how to establish the rapport with clients and actually get the listing, right? They know how to compete and beat out the other agents. But I think it just depends on who you are. Ultimately, Randy's exactly right. It is all relationship, and people are going to work with who they trust, who they like and trust, right? So even now, you'll get people say they just want to work with that lead agent on the sign, right? And they're scripting around how to sort of move off of that. However, if you were set up without that one person's name on the sign, you would be 10 times further ahead.
And I transitioned out of that. I've not been the Randy Dyke team for about 15 years